Hi, my name is Rebecca Allen. It is June 23rd, approximately 5:59 p.m. Today I'm going to be talking to you about critical theory, power, hegemony, constructive control, people embellishing on their resumes, a video that Emma Watson did regarding feminism, um, superior and subordinate engagement, and culture and critical theories. So let's get started. First one, what is critical theory? Critical theory is the study of organization based on a work from Karl Marx. It is a physiological approach to culture and especially to literature that seeks to confront the social, historical, and ideological forces and structures that produce and constrain it. How do we use critical theory to understand oppressive circumstances in the workplace? Well, I would say it's in management in an organization is based on control, tradition, structures often rely on bureaucratic procedures and hierarchical control favors the interests of those in management while interests of the workers are subordinate. So it shows the power and hegemony or constructive control within the organization that defines the organization and its culture and ethics, I think. How do we understand power? So power is, according to Weber, is the possibility of imposing one's will upon the behavior of the other persons. It can also mean making a decision where there is conflict based on a behavior. It's all about who has power and who doesn't have power. So this reminds me of like king and queens when they have the ultimate power. Yeah, they have courts that can oversee things and help with those choices, but ultimately it's the king and queen's choice in their country. Hegemony is the idea that the subordinate group actively supports the interests of the dominant group, and more often more often not knowing this, which is cause oppression. That's what happens. So I think this really reminded me of like a dog situation where the dog follows its owner and wants to run and do everything right there with the owner. That's kind of how I saw it. That's kind of like a weird way of putting it, but that's how I related it to. Constructive control, is based on the adherence to socially constructive norms and values developed by an organizational member themselves as they attempt to structure their environment. So I related this to the company handbook that everybody must follow. Okay, share your thoughts about the Emma Watson video. So Emma Watson is a feminist, and she doesn't want to. I know people cringe when they hear about feminists, but she's saying that feminism is not just women; it's men too. She wants to end gender inequality on both ends. Having women have more rights in the world, not being viewed that they can't do certain things. She talks about women being submissive and men not being able to feel that they can talk about their feelings. So honestly, I think this is kind of all of the concepts is power because one person is over the other and who has rule and who doesn't. That's men over women. Or hegemony where there is this submissive and they have to go along with everything the other person says. So I think that Emma Watson is today's version of a feminist theorist who raises our collective consciousness regarding the unequal treatment and opposition circumstances women face in the workplace, which is very important. I think she's trying to go at it as a different way, not just putting blame on men. It's just our society and just viewing women differently and having equal rights as men. So number 3, read Workplace Culture of Fear. How does this article highlight the need to understand organizational culture and the importance of understanding the critical theories perspective as an employee? Okay, so after reading this, or reading about this, it's about a coach acting, doing wrongfully to the boys, and as well as an NFL player. So there was just, you just realize that people out there, they love the control, which is, I think, power over one person. And the submissive, which is the one that doesn't speak out, they have fear. I think fear leads us to think we are trapped and makes us not want to talk. Everybody is entitled to be treated the right way, and I think codes of ethics in the workplace and really standing on them, which is going to lead to what my next thing I'm going to talk about with Netflix. I think really standing on the codes of ethics, and it doesn't matter who's above one another. We each have our own rights, and we can feel like we have a voice that concerns. So one thing that really stood out to me when I was reading in the book is that according to the Ethics Resource Center survey, 22% of people observed abusive or intimidation behavior towards employees. I know that's not a high number, but it is a number, and I think everyone should feel like they have their own voice. So number 4, watch how Netflix changes corporate. What is unique about Netflix? Where do leaders of the organization place importance? Which critical perspective helps you understand the culture of Netflix? So Netflix is unique based on their values according to behavior. So, for instance, she talked about when back in 2011 they had to lay off 1/3 of their company, and not only just the employees, but she herself laid herself off. She said it was a really tough time, but she had to do that for the value and the future of the company. She believed in the company so much that she was willing to take a pay cut. To fire herself, but still work so that they could still strive and not fail as a company. I think that makes a good judgment of a company, because it's not just based on money and who's over one another. Everybody has their right, and I think also when she says leaders have to earn their way in the company and not buy a share, that's completely true to me too. I think not buying your way in a company is, then you don't really know the company, you don't really know the values, you don't know the employees or the people, or I think that was pretty neat. And so critical perspective that helps me understand Netflix is organizational code of ethics, because they really stand on their code of ethics and what they believe in. So lessons learned case study. What is the ultimate lesson? How do you see organizational culture and critical theories intersecting to assist your understanding of communication and organization thus far? So to me, reading this, it was about a meeting that people weren't paying attention in. They were emailing. The speaker felt like she wasn't being paid attention to. People walked out of there and were saying negativity about the company. There wasn't any structure, and there obviously, when a head guy was emailing and she even looked at him, that's very frustrating. So to me, this is an example of poor ideal speech situation. And in order to have good communication, you must have trust within the company, code of ethics within the company, an understanding of what is important and what's not important. I think what makes a good company is based on their values and their ethics. Because things can be unbalanced and they can be repeated, and people can feel upset and not get anything out of the learning opportunity. Okay, so have you been in a situation where you did not represent yourself to accurately when applying for a job interview? No, I've never had this experience. If I did and I didn't get the job, I would want to go back and figure out what the company stood on, what I did wrong, and review my resume and how I present myself in communicating to the company. Okay, number 7, have you ever been hired by an organization that misrepresented your role in the company? Yes, I have. So I was a dental assistant, and as a dental assistant, you are supposed to stay in your realm of things that you can be and do. When you step out of that realm and you're not certified for that, it makes you feel uneasy, and it makes you feel like you're going against your code of ethics, your values as a person. So when that happened, I quit my job and I started a new career. So that's why I'm back in school. So yeah. Okay. Discuss the reason why applicants may embellish their application materials. I think applicants embellish their application because they want to be hired. There are far few between jobs now, and you have to do so much to get hired, and you have to present yourself above and beyond anybody else. And so what's interesting is 25 to 40% of applicants provide misleading information on their resumes so they can get the job. People do it, and they do it because of one goal, and that's to get a job and start earning money. So that's why I think people do that. What perception would a potential employer have of you after viewing the results of Googling your name? Well, when I did it, and I've done it before in the past, my name doesn't come up, and it takes a long time to find me. So I have researched my name, and how often do you search your name, and is the information accurate? Well, because I know that my name's not high on Google's alert, I don't have any interesting stories. The only thing that you can really find me is Facebook. And looking at my Facebook after this, I realized that not all the information is up to date. Pictures are, but my job, and I think that's up to date, but just certain things aren't fully up to date, and I should probably get on that and up to date my information. Okay, so let's see. After reading Chapter 10 and reviewing the PowerPoint slides, read the case study, Navigating the Limits of the Smile. In this case is found in the case study folder. Okay, sorry. What is one question you feel still needs to be addressed in this case? I think the question that still needs to be addressed is why people deliberately make daily interactional choices. Why people do things they do and they know they're doing them is definitely the question that I would raise. Discuss the reasons why a superior might deliberately engage in a strategic ambiguity. Discuss the reasons why a subordinate might engage in that as well. Please explain both. So obviously each person should know their role. A superior might deliberately engage in a strategic ambiguity when they are ambitious about the interpretation of an event, value, or behavior when they need something. So, for instance, feedback, humor, complaints, gaining. I got out of this that when somebody needs something, I would say, that's when they step over the line and they can cross the line and do wrongful things. I think in subordinate, I think they do it to try to find a way to not lose their job. I think when they do wrong or when they mislead about something, I think they step over the line when they are worried or feared that their job might be in turmoil. Okay, so think of an instance where you and your friend have practiced upward distortion. This can include information conveyed by the professor. Why did you engage in communicative behavior? What was the ultimate result? So upward distortion is is the term used to describe the hesitancy of subordinates to communicate negative news up the chain of command and their tendency to distort such news to place it in more positive light. Well, in my job as a sales rep, one thing that we really strive on is getting the order. Like, get the order, get the order. That's what I constantly hear. Well, when I don't get the order and it's a big order, not for something that I did, but just as a customer, people don't order for specific reasons. So when I have to tell that to my boss, I've had times where I've really kind of relayed, oh, well, we're going to get it soon. They are waiting on budgetary pricing. And eventually, telling the truth and coming out with it is the most important things that they know as a superior to move on to the next order. And so what was the ultimate result of your chosen action? Well, I eventually have to tell my boss that we're not going to get the order. And when they realize that it's okay, that fear left. And I feel like I was able to just go on with my job, and that's not my fault that certain things happen. That's what I believe. That's how I portray that. What roles does trust play in superior and subordinate relationships? Both parties are vulnerable, and trust helps to alleviate some of that vulnerability. I think within the company there can be a lot of backstabbing and a lot of mistrust. For instance, when I read the Hewlett Packard HP article, it was crazy just to hear what each superior did to each other, backstabbing, leaking stories out. I think, and obviously their company failed pretty severely, and a lot of people didn't even want to work for them, and they're even on the top 10 worst companies to work for. So I think trust is a big issue to hold the value of the company, and that's really important in my opinion. So last question: discuss the role of immediacy in the supervisor subordinate relationship. Why is acknowledging immediacy important? So immediacy has been studied in the context of superior and subordinate relationship. Immediacy is any communication that indicates interpersonal warmth and closeness, either consciousness or not. Immediacy can be expressed both verbally and non-verbally, and in both cases, many affect a subordinate's perception of his superior, and hence his level of trust in that person. So supervisors use nonverbal immediacy, for example, can enhance perceptions of the superior by the subordinate, like their credibility, their interpersonal attractiveness, the subordinate's satisfaction with the superior, and communication with the supervisor. So I think if you're acknowledging when you're stepping over the line, people can be close, but there is a fine line within a job that you can't really step over. And once you step over, that's downgrading the values of that person's job. It's showing that I think also a supervisor can convey to the subordinate that their input on job and personal matters, that they're attentive to subordinate both verbally and non-verbally, expresses confidence in the subordinate's ability. People can take this negative or positive. Maybe I took it positive, but if supervisors can communicate in immediacy and help the establish trust in the expected outcome, and is an effective relationship, one in which both superior and subordinate parties are able to function at their highest level and contribute to each other's success. So that is all for my questions, and this is video 3. Thank you very much.